Hello and welcome back to another episode of a Weekly Waypoint, where today, after just 7 short years away from Liberty City, after visiting Vice City and San Andreas respectively, we have decided to return, and the city has seen a fair amount of growth, I think it would be fair to say. The LCPD do have short memories, but I want to leave a good impression as I enter the city for the first time, so I will once again be proving that I am a law-abiding citizen, earning an honest wage by performing duties as a taxi driver. Not that anyone's gonna notice. No, but genuinely, this is my first time playing GTA 4 properly. I mean, I've owned it on PS3, and I booted it up, and I went, oh, this runs like shit, and then I didn't play it. I picked it up, like, pre-owned, I'm pretty sure, for a $5 at the time, and I've owned it on PC for, well, actually, I can go and check. Looks like I bought this game in December of 2013, which means I've owned this game for 11 years and had played it for all of 9 minutes. I assume I got stuck behind the games for Windows Live bullshit, which they have thankfully patched out now. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, in 2020, Rockstar did a great big retrofit patch where they stripped out all the games for Windows Live stuff and unfortunately the multiplayer servers along with it, and patched it so that basically if you had any edition of a game you had all of the DLC. It was now labelled the Complete Edition, and it just used like the Rockstar backend stuff instead of the old games for Windows Live stuff, and it has Steam achievements now, so hey, if you're watching this and you're going, oh, I have fond memories of GTA 4 and I haven't played it in at least 4 years on PC, might be worth revisiting now. But yeah, I have an interesting history with GTA 4 because, like I said, I've owned it in 2 places and never really played it, but also I remember looking up GTA 4 online multiplayer kind of fuck around type videos long ago when YouTube was a nascent squealing little baby, and I found like one video. There was like one online GTA 4 multiplayer video, and it was just some guy messing around with his friends, and I thought it was great. I have the same story with Minecraft. I remember finding like one Minecraft video, and it's funny because YouTube is absolutely flush now with GTA Online and Minecraft multiplayer videos. You can't breathe for them. And it's just fun to remember a time when, you know, this wasn't so commonplace. And also, like, as a teenager, as a kid, I desperately wanted a PS3. I desperately wanted to be part of that generation, but we were quite poor. And I didn't get a PS3 until I was 16, which was around the end of a PS3's life cycle, so I didn't actually play it that much. And so the way I consumed new video game content back then was just watching Let's Plays, and while I never really watched a Let's Play outright of someone playing through the story of GTA 4 or anything like that, the way I enjoyed games was mostly through the medium of video. I remember being so excited about GTA 4 because I used to watch videos about the multiplayer mod for GTA San Andreas, and GTA 4 was the first GTA to actually have a legitimate online multiplayer component, and there was just so much fun I could think of having in a game like that online. See kids, back in my day we didn't have GTA Online. We had to mod it into the game ourselves, and that was only after San Andreas. So yeah, I do think it's a shame that I never got to play GTA 4 multiplayer. But yeah, playing GTA 4 for the first time is absolutely wild, because of course while I've seen videos and I know what a game looks like, playing it is a bit of a different beast. And you know, these last 4 weeks now, we've done GTA 3, we've done Vice City, we've done San Andreas, then hopping from San Andreas to GTA 4, it is astonishing how big of a leap of a video game generation I guess it is. Like I mentioned in the San Andreas video that like, oh, it's surprising that you can tell there's a bit of a leap in terms of gameplay between Vice City and San Andreas, but you wouldn't really notice it unless you were playing them back to back. Here, I think this is almost as big of a leap as is the leap between GTA 2 and GTA 3, and that was a leap from 2D to 3D. Despite having seen gameplay footage of GTA 4 before, I've never truly appreciated how, I guess from a retrospective, how close it is to GTA 5 Like, it's a lot closer to GTA 5 than it is to GTA San Andreas, is what I'm trying to say. And that's not to say GTA 5 isn't a big leap as well, because, like, you know, I'm sure when we play that next week, I'm gonna be like, oh, I didn't realise how big of a leap this game was, I haven't played it in years. But honestly, if you haven't done it yourself, spend some time in the PS2 era GTA games, and then make the leap to GTA 4, and there are so many things, like, the way the cars handle, the way, just like the life sim stuff. They focused so much more on building a realistic, functioning world, and it really shows in so many minor ways that I couldn't even list for you off the top of my head. For the first time, I'm actually like avoiding hitting pedestrians and other cars and stuff because it feels wrong, in the way it kind of should. Pedestrians have ragdoll physics now, by the way, which does make it quite funny when you run into them, and I will do more crimes as I play this game more, I'm sure. But for the first time playing GTA 4, I'm like, oh, like, I did the mission where they hand you a gun and they're like, hey, shoot these people, and you're like, oh god, I'm shooting people. Like, it passes quickly, but it's not a train of thought that ever occurred to me in the older games. Also, I have been paying attention to the cutscenes and the story, and I know people don't love Nico and they don't love the GTA 4 story in general. At least that's the general impression I get. But I'm enjoying it so far. It's okay. It's about run-of-the-mill for a GTA story, I think, but I do like how we're starting at, like, the very, very bottom of society, and I'm guessing that as the story goes on, we kind of work our way up. I do find it very funny that Michelle is very, very clearly an undercover cop, and Nico just has absolutely no idea, bless him. But anyway, it's been Christmas since we last spoke, and subsequently I've had quite a busy week in video games, so shall we get on to talking about games what I done played and bought and stuff then? Because I got some Christmas money and I bloomin' well spent it, didn't I? First of all, before we get into new games, I have been spending some more time continuing my playthrough of GTA Vice City, and I feel like no matter what you're playing at Christmas, it's kind of unavoidable that it's gonna have, like, the aura, the spirit, the vibes, whatever you want to call it, of Christmas associated from that point onwards with it. Last year it was Guild Wars 2, the year before that it was probably Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, I want to say. Every Christmas now I kind of get the weird itch to play those games just because you're put in that same mindset, that same I don't know, kind of atmosphere as you were in when you were really into that game before. And I feel like next year I'm going to be sat around at Christmas going, why do I want to play GTA Vice City? Not a Christmassy game at all, but I played a decent amount of it over, like, the most cozy, festive-y parts of the holiday, and I feel like I am now doomed to see GTA Vice City as, weirdly, a Christmassy game. But in terms of new video games I got, well, kind of. I got Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, and the reason why I said kind of is because I've already platinumed that game on PS4 back in 2019, I believe it was. I think it was my game of the year for 2019 that I played it. Oh, hang on, I've got a handy-dandy spreadsheet page for that. Let me go check. Oh, it's coming in useful. Yes, Marvel's Spider-Man was my game of the year for 2019, just beating out Destiny 2 Shadowkeep. Destiny 2, I miss you. Why did you? Well, anyway, I don't own a PS5, so I never played Spider-Man 2. So with the news that Spider-Man 2 was coming to PC in January, which is like a few weeks away probably, the actual release date, could be like 4 days away, but I doubt it. I looked at the sales and I went, you know what? Spider-Man Remastered, it's time. It didn't really need a remaster, all they did was swap out the Peter Parker, weirdly, model. I still don't know if we know the true reason behind why they did that, because they will have modelled that guy off of a real person both times. If they literally just wanted him to look more Tom Hollandy, I still prefer the original one, but anyway, whatever, doesn't matter. I'll tell you what is funny, the first time I played that game and they were like, oh, it's an older, more experienced Spider-Man, I was like, oh, he's 23, he is an older Spider-Man. This time I was like, oh, he's 23? He's still pretty young. The difference being that I was 24 when I first played it and now I'm 29. I think it also helps that I'm currently reading the new Ultimate Spider-Man where he's 35. Anyway, that game is just as good as I remember it, if not better. And after playing so many turn-based RPGs, it is kind of refreshing to get back into a game where, like, it's action, if you know what I mean. It's active combat, and you get rewarded for being good at it and punished for being bad at it. Not to, like, a Souls-like extreme, and, you know, there's changeable difficulty settings and stuff, but it's definitely refreshing, and I'm falling back in love with those kinds of games. And on that train of thought, I did pick up a game that is entirely new to me as well. The big spend was Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, which, if you don't know, isn't the Souls-like game. That's Sekiro. I always confuse these two titles. It's the more kind of like stealthy, actiony, not Assassin's Creed game by Sucker Punch. It was a PlayStation exclusive for the longest time, but just a few months ago it got a PC release, and I won't lie, it's not like I've had my eye on this game for a long time or anything, but when it got that PC release, I did kind of stop and, you know, go, ooh, maybe I should look at that game, because all I'd heard was how it was basically the Japanese Assassin's Creed game we had always wanted, but better. And now that we're actually getting that Japanese Assassin's Creed game, and the previews just look fine, I guess, I thought, I do miss my premium PlayStation exclusive video games, and it sure does look like one of those that I would enjoy. So I've sunk about 5 hours into Ghost of Tsushima so far, and yes, it's incredible. Like I was talking about with Spider-Man, it's... hang on, I can articulate this better by just reading out the Blue Sky post I wrote earlier. I said, both of those games are so masterful in how they deliver thematically appropriate combat to enhance your immersion in those worlds. In other words, yes, the combat in Marvel's Spider-Man really makes you feel like Spider-Man, and the combat in Ghost of Tsushima really makes you feel like a samurai. I think I just earned my gaming journalism degree. I know it's a meme, but it's fucking true though. It is so well done how these games, like... I mean, I already read you the damn post. I can't put together sentences very well today. They do what they do very, very well, okay? And yes, I know some people get grouchy about Assassin's Creed, so they're not gonna like what I'm about to say, but Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey are two of my favorite RPGs ever made, and Ghost of Tsushima is giving me those vibes. But of course, the great thing about Ghost of Tsushima is it is not tied to a larger series, or at least it is the first entry in a larger series, and therefore it doesn't have to bend itself to fit the rules of the larger series. It gets to do everything itself. So you've got these really cool thematically appropriate things like, you know, making the wind point towards your current location and not relying on like mini-maps or compasses or anything like that. And you've got like sword stances and just the way like all that stuff works with combat and like the kunai, and it's a samurai simulator in the coolest way. And you might think, if you know anything about samurai, then shouldn't assassination not be part of that? And there's a really cool story beat to do with that. So yeah, it's a really good game. I know I'm a few years late to this. I'm becoming an r/patient gamer when it comes to Sony exclusives now that they're porting them to Steam like 2 years after they release. I'm just going to pretend those games are 2 years further out than they are, because I don't want to get a PS5. They're expensive and I can't justify it. Look, I've got my Ratchet & Clank, I've got my Ghosts of Tsushima, I've got my Horizon Forbidden West, although I don't own that yet. We're getting Spider-Man 2. I don't need a PS5, okay? I've got my trusty 3060 by my side. Touch wood. Because the insurance on this thing runs out a year before the payments on it do. So touch wood. I tell you what though, I wasn't planning on talking about this today, but it is a good time to reflect on this. It's funny how I have had this PC for nearly 2 years now, but it's sort of been underutilized in its first year. Like when we're talking about the year in review stuff and different gaming platforms, it's weird to go back and look at my 2023 stats and be like, oh, I still spent most of my time on my Xbox, even though it was the inferior gaming machine. And I can tell you exactly why. I suffered really badly with anxiety, especially, I would say, during 2023 and early 2024. And what I'm about to say is about to sound ridiculous and eye-rolly, but like, the thing with anxiety is it does remove your ability to rationalize in a lot of cases. And when my old PC died, you know, it was... I won't say traumatic, it wasn't traumatic, but it was somewhere in that ballpark, because it was this machine that I used every day. It was like my hub for gaming, it was my, hub for a lot of my creative outlets in terms of making videos and everything, and it was working fine, and then one day I turned it on and it wasn't. And the thing that stopped it from working fine was an extremely loud, like, grinding noise with the fans. It was honestly probably repairable, but as I said at the time, I didn't have the know-how or the kind of, like, mental ability to really, like, you know, go and find someone who could get it repaired, that kind of thing. And so when I got my new PC and I booted it up, I noticed it had very faint coil whine. I believe that's the term, coil whine. It's always been a bit of a rattly bugger, and I did like email support about it because it's a pre-built, and I like sent videos and stuff, and they basically said it's fine. What I've learned in recent years is it's kind of a modern PC problem, to be honest, that a lot of PCs have, and it's basically, touch wood, superficial. But for a long time, like, I couldn't get that noise out of the back of my head because I associated it with my previous PC dying, even though it was a lot quieter. And so I was always afraid to push this PC to do what it could, which was newer video games, because, well, actually, funnily enough, when I run more intensive games, the fans, you know, are quieter, because, I don't know, something about the higher velocity fans makes it quieter. It's at its worst, honestly, when I'm in Vegas Pro and doing video editing. I don't know what it is. You can probably figure it out, but after nearly 2 years, it's not actually been a problem. Touch wood. But yeah, basically all throughout 2023 and early 2024, I lacked confidence in my PC's, I guess, structural integrity, and it was like such an irrational fear. But I feel like I've gotten over it. I mean, you know, I had anxiety therapy earlier this year. That definitely helped. And it was for a lot of things a lot more important and a lot more affecting than my computer makes a noise and it makes me think it's going to break. But yeah, that's why up until now I've not really bought, like, quote-unquote new releases on PC. Like, I mean, again, they're a few years old because they're PlayStation exclusives ported over, but Ghost of Tsushima. But I did buy Baldur's Gate 3 last year, and I was always very paranoid when that game was running. It honestly might have contributed to me not really getting myself fully immersed in that game world, unlike most of the gaming population last year did. But yeah, nowadays I'm pretty happy to let my PC run an intensive game for hours at a time while I play it, and actually be able to focus on the game. Hooray, go me, we solved it, we ended world hunger, everyone. Pat myself on the back. That was a weird tangent. How did you enjoy that little look into my psyche? I like how I'm saying this while in-game I've just started stalking a man. That wasn't planned. I was just curious to see where NPCs actually went, what they did with their time. I'm sure everyone does this at some point, right? Just stop and follow an NPC and see where the immersion breaks. Oh, I forgot to mention, I do have one last piece of video game news. My friend Cabbie gifted me Final Fantasy XI the other day. For those of you who are in the know, you will know that that is the MMO before... Oh my god, so much rhyming. That is the original Final Fantasy MMO before 14, and it is the PlayStation 2 era MMO. And yes, I beat the installation boss. I managed to get the game up and running, and I even learned how to move around inside of it and navigate the world. That took multiple hours. Final Fantasy XI is an archaic fucking game, and if you want to play it, it is a challenge, trust me. You are going into it with a mindset that you are going to sit down and figure out how to play this old ass game. And honestly, like, I'm still super early on. I don't know if I'm going to bounce off of this fairly early on or if I'm going to continue my adventures, but I am enjoying, like, exploring the world and getting to grips with it so far. There will be a video on it at some point in the future. I want to make the most of my 1 month free trial because I don't know if I will, like, pay monthly for this game. It wants like £8.49 a month, and I'm like, for a game that's this old though. If it was paired up with a 14 subscription, that would be fine, but that seems yeah, it's still extremely early days. I've just discovered that most people run the game through a thing called Windower, which allows you to have a mini-map. For those of you who don't know, you don't get any kind of mini-map until you download third-party software. You can't see what levels enemies are until you get close enough to kind of like... I forget what the word is, but basically inspect them. But the problem is, when I got close enough to inspect an enemy to see that it was higher level than me, it was also close enough to aggro onto me, and it chases you across the entire zone, and if you die, you lose XP, so that's what we're up against. But I've heard that the story is good, and I did like the opening movie, so I'm going to try and make some strides and explore the Nadiel, and not just rely on the Dawn Trail Alliance raid, which I haven't touched yet. But I won't lie, it is stoking my fuel for wanting to play 14. I spent the walk to work this morning listening to a lot of the Shadowbringers soundtrack, and man, Do you ever just think about Shadowbringers and cry? Because I do. I remember that they once lived. I could easily spend the rest of this video gushing about Shadowbringers, but you've heard it all before, so update on the reading situation. As you may have seen on the channel, I finished the second book of a Sun Eater series, and then I bought the third book, and then I went, wait, what am I doing? The novellas! So I also picked up the first novella, which is The Lesser Devil, which I won't give it away, but it focuses on a side character who apparently doesn't pop up in the main series again, and it's really fun to spend more time with that side character, or more specifically, that area of the story. I'm only a few chapters in. I don't think I'm going to end up loving it as much as I love the main series, but I am happy that it exists. Also, in terms of comics, I've been trying to remember where I left off with Amazing Spider-Man, and eventually I just gave up and jumped to Superior Spider-Man, or at least a few issues before it, to see how that came to be. I might have skipped over 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 issues, I have no idea. Ultimately, it doesn't seem like I missed much plot-wise, so it's fine. I am also really close to the 2014 run of Spider-Man 2099, which I'm really excited to reach. And finally, one of my Christmas gifts was a really cool little book called The Periodic Table of DC. And it's just a really nifty guide to like all of the different characters in DC Comics and little bios about them, and it's presented in a really fun and unique way. It's honestly one of my favorite gifts I think I've been given, even though it's just a small thing. It's such a cute little book. Anyway, thank you for tuning in this week. Next week, we will be returning to Los Santos. I will see you there.